Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, everyone. This is for today for the good discussion on discuss essential context topic. Okay, let's introduce myself. My name is Diana, and there are my contacts. There are Ismail Hatiba, Keisha Mujahidah, Azhar Fauzan, and Nur Aisyah. Okay, for the first presenter will be explained by Aisyah. The time is yours.
Okay, so the first, I will explain about the sign, context, and meaning. Context is the important aspect of critical discourse analysis, but first we have to consider the relationship of context to meaning. As we know, context affects meaning in language, and sign as symbols, word, or gesture do create meaning in communication. In the context of critical discourse analysis, meaning is created when a sign appears in a specific context. All we can say is that meaning is not fixed, but shaped by the situation in which words are used. Let's take a look on these two pictures. The first picture is a red flag on a beach. The second picture is a red flag in a protest. These two red flags is the same red flag but has two different meanings. For the first, a red flag can mean danger on a beach, but in a red flag in a protest could symbolize a political movement. So from these pictures, we can see the difference of meaning based on the sign and the context. From the example I just told, the choice of the sign and of where and when to put the sign are both arranged by human intervention, or it is created by human consciousness. When we consider language as a carrier of meaning, a more complex picture existed. Language is often thought of as a system of signs, but it's not a simple or straightforward system. Or in common language, we know that language is not always direct. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, language is not always direct. As what I said before, language is a system of signs, but it is more complex. And an example of its complexity can be seen in what are we known as performatives. Performatives is some sentence that perform actions just by being spoken. Like the sentence, I know you in a wedding context. The sentence, I now pronounce you husband and wife. That's a performative sentence because the action performed by saying it. The couple is obviously married. But if an actor in a play says the same thing in a movie, if an actor play married, no real marriage happens because the context is different. The first is in marriage context, the second is in actor in a play or in a movie context. But even emotional phrases like I love you have different effects depending on who says them and in what situation. Next, we have meaning, sense, and reference. To understand meaning, we need context because sometimes sentences don't always give full information. Let's see these two words, this example. The first, their parents lend them a credit card. From this first sentence, we don't get much information of who, there, and them in this sentence. It could be anyone. Without context who said it or why they said it or when this happened, we don't get the full meaning, so we don't fully understand the sentence. The second sentence, like this: for now, Bridget was being put through her paces on the island of Tenerife. From this sentence, we also don't get fully the full meaning of this sentence because there is lack of information. Who is Bridget? Why is she there? Or we can say that without meaning or without context, we can only guess. In reality, this sentence is about a Mars exploration robot named Bridget. But without knowing this context, all we just assume that this about a person. Do we agree here? Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. So some linguists separate meaning uh, from sense. Meaning here is words that have dictionary meanings, but their real meanings comes from how they are used in specific situations. How this word used in specific situations name sense. As what I wrote, some linguists separate meaning, basic definition that listed in the dictionary from sense. Sense is what a sentence means in context. So for the example, like I told you before, the word I love you means something different when said from a mother to a child. It could have parental love meaning. And if it's said between two young couple to each other, it could have a love meaning. And also, talk about meaning, there are a broad definition. One of that is the meaning we want to understand in spoken language also depends on tone or stress or intonation. How words are spoken. It also has meaning. Next one about meaning, sense, difference in context, time, context, and meaning. I give back to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Aisha, who has explained the sign and context and meaning clearly. So for the next, it's about language in use, which will be delivered by Keisha. The time is yours.
All right, thank you for moderator. I would like to explain about language in use. So, language in use in discourse and social context are intricately connected, and understanding how language is utilized in various social contexts is crucial to effective discourse analysis. And below are several key points that I include. Here, the first is shared knowledge. Shared knowledge is effective communication, relies on a common understanding among participants. Without shared knowledge, likelihood or misunderstanding significantly increase. And the shares of knowledge encompasses is the first factual information, that specific details present in the discussion, and second, cultural norms that share belief and practice that influence interpretation. Third is social behaviors that expected conduct in various contexts. And the fourth is institutional practice, is a norm established within specific organization or communication that, maybe for example, in everyday interactions, speakers that listening must be mutual understanding of the topics being discussion for communication to flow smoothly. It's from Blur 2007. So the second point is pragmatics. Pragmatics is a branch of linguistics that addresses the aspect of communication that cannot be explained solely by grammar. Uh, it's a within in the framework include reference, communication function, preposition, and implicator. The reference is how participants refer to object or ideas. The use of pronouns like he, they can indicate relationship and power dynamics. And communication function in intention behind communication. This could be to inform, request, or express something emotional, and understanding this function aids in determining how best to convey message. And the preposition is assumption made by the speaker regarding the listener's knowledge, and for instance, saying like she's coming, or purposes that listener knows who is being referred to. And the implicator is the implied meaning that is not explicitly stated. For example, it's or late maybe imply that the speaker wants to leave. Okay, can next slide. Okay, slide is purpose and context. In purpose and context is the process of language or acquisition, and individuals learn to recognize various types of discourse, even in unwritten rules that govern them. Genre play here a crucial role in shaping discourse and fluence. It's by first one is social norms, and second is contextual changes. The social norms is expectation that guide communication style. For instance, in formal setting, in like business meetings, or a more formal language in expected. Its informal context, like casual conversation, may be allowed for a relaxed language. And the control and the contextual changes at the various settings for audience and purpose is significant after the way language is used. For example, a job interview or requires something like different linguistic approaches and compared to French chat. And the last is reference, identity, and role. The use of reference is critical for maintaining text cohesion and constructing social identities. It's like example. The example is the point is pronunciation, social roles, and identity construction. The pronouns is the choice of pronouns can several social dynamic and power relation. For example, you using this like we may foster inclusivity, while they can create distance. And social roles is identity and often shaped by the roles individuals play in specific contexts. In educational setting, teachers and students adopt distinct linguistic behavior that reflect their roles. And the next is identity construction. It's language choice contributing to how individuals define themselves and are reflected by others, impacting their social instruction. And it's just adding something. It's assumption and the cooperative principle. Its assumption, it's believed to viewpoints and participants consider to be true. The comparative principles by Grace Maxims illustrate that effective communication depends on mutual understanding and relevance and clarity. Key elements include quality, quantity, relation, and manner. Is providing the right amount of information and maintaining relevance to the topic, being clear, ordinary in presentation, And for instance, when someone asks, "Have you eaten?" it's often assumed that the question implies care rather than more formally. Language in use in social context is multifaceted and influenced by the various factors, including shared knowledge and pragmatic understanding, thus comprehending how language operates in social interaction is vital of acknowledging and interpreting meanings without discourse, and the context roles its communication and fundamental as a shape on intention and meanings behind every verbal instruction. If it is all from me, I'll give back to moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Keisha. Let's explain language in use very clearly. So for the next, we have language in use, purposeful communication, difference and identity and role, which will be delivered by Azhar. The time is yours.
Okay, now I would like to tell you about purposeful communication. So communication is not viewed as a simple exchange of information, but as a goal-oriented activity. Every act of communication, whether spoken or written, is designed to achieve a goal or purpose. For instance, political speech, advertising, and media discourse are not just about conveying facts, but they are about influencing people's belief, attitude, and behavior. And there are pragmatic features in purposeful communication. The study of purposeful communication involves pragmatic, which focus on how meaning is shaped by context, intention, and social interaction. There are key aspects that include the first one is reverence, how speakers use language to refer to people, objects, or ideas in a way that shape perception. The second is presupposition, the assumption embedded within discourse that shape understanding. And the last one is implication, the meaning that is suggested but not explicitly stated, often used in persuasion or manipulation. Next slide. So I have some example. Next slide, please. So this is example from pragmatic feature. Hello, my name is Debbie, and I'm calling from Travel US to let you know that you have been selected for a free holiday cruise in the Caribbean. So at first, this sounds like good news, but in a CDA perspective reveal a deeper strategy that explain about the use of personal introduction. My name is Debbie creates a sense of familiarity, making the listener more receptive. And framing of the over as a gift, the phrase you have been selected implies exclusivity, making the listener feel lucky. And the last is the hidden goal, selling a product. The real purpose is to persuade the listener to pay for flight or additional service. Next. So the last one is socialization and genre in communication. So humans learn to recognize different discourse genre through exposure and instruction. Some genre like casual conversation are picked up naturally, while the others, such as academic writing or political speech, require formal training. For example, a child might learn how to answer a phone call by watching their parents. But however, writing a business report or academic thesis require explicit instruction in structure, tone, and purpose. So this distinction between natural acquisition versus learned discourse practice highlight how language use is shaped by social and educational system. Next. So, okay, now let's jump to the reference, identity, and role. So there are several key. The first one is the power of reference in discourse. Reference plays a crucial role in discourse by shaping who is included and excluded in a conversation. Pronouns like we, they, us, and them can create in-group and out-group division, reinforcing power dynamic. In CDA, there is a special significance attached to the ways in which identity is realized in discourse, because people tend to identify themselves with their own social group and often place themselves in opposition to other social grouping. As well as playing various roles, we identify with different social groups. To some extent, we are able to choose how far we identify with a group. We may each think of ourselves as a member of a particular religion or profession, or maybe we can choose to identify with our home nation, our favorite football club, and the other. So the second is identity and self versus other positioning. People naturally categorize themselves and other into social group. This categorization leads to self-identification and distancing from others. So for example, Forster's anti-Nazi radio broadcast. So Forster, the English novelist and Cambridge academic, used we to create a collective anti-Nazi identity. He talked about, we only know that we are all mongrels and that we must learn not to be bite one another. So we reverse to British citizen of mixed heritage, challenging Nazi notion of racial purity. The next slide. So the last key is social roles. So identity is not fixed. It shifts depending on the context and role a person plays. So for example, there is a man named Ahmed, plays different roles in different contexts. The first one, at home, is a father using a nurturing and instructive tone. And the second, at work, he is an architect using professional technical discourse. And the last one, at his tennis club, he is an accountant engaging in financial discussing. So each role requires different language choices, yet Ahmed remains the same person, but this illustrates how discourse adapt to social expectation and setting. It is important to recognize where a participant in the discourse positions himself as a member of a social group and where others position him. So the both purposeful communication and reference identity and role are fundamental in analyzing how language construct meaning, power, and identity. In reference identity and role, demonstrate how language position individual and groups, reinforcing power, structure, or promoting change. That's all that I can explain. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Azhar for your brief explanation. Okay, let's jump to the next submaterial. It's about assumption and the cooperative principle, which will be delivered by Isna. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Simi. I would like to explain about assumption and cooperative principle. So we can see that these are related to presupposition. So the term presupposition has a long and complicated history in philosophy and has been used to mean different things. For now, in the context of critical discourse analysis or CDA, we can understand presupposition as an assumption that a writer or a speaker makes about what the reader or listener knows or thinks. It's based on Fairclough, 2003. So it is related to presupposition. This word means the assumptions itself that speakers or writers make about what their audience knows or believes. For example, like if someone says, it's a nice day for a picnic, and they assume that the listener knows what a picnic is and that they enjoy good weather. So these assumptions can change based on the context, culture, and beliefs of the people involved. What is normal in one culture may not be understood in another. So it depends on who's the speaker and also who's the listener. Okay. We can also see here presupposition. It means assumptions about the knowledge or views of the audience and the context dependent, influenced by culture and beliefs. So it means that it's just the presupposition means assumptions itself. So it depends on the speaker and also the listener and the context of the culture being spoken. There are also the principles by Grice cooperative. Grice or Paul Grice is a philosophy that makes these 4 principles called maxims. So these principles tell us that good communication requires shared good understanding between people. It means that when we talk, we should work together to make our messages clear. And Paul created 4 important rules called maxims, these rules, to help us communicate better. So let's see what are the rules or maxims here. The first one is quantity. It provides the right amount of information. This means giving the right amount of information. We should provide enough details for the listener to understand, but not too much information that confuses them. For example, if someone asks for direction, we should give clear steps without extra details that are not needed. So you have to give enough information, but not too much that it can confuse them. The next one is quality, to tell the truth. This rule tells us to be honest. We should only say things we believe to be true and avoid lying. We cannot lie when we communicate with each other. And if we don't know the answer to a question, it's better to say, I'm not sure, than to make something up. So it's better to tell the truth than lying. Then there's also relation, to be relevant. This maxim is about being relevant. What we say should relate to the topic for the conversation. For example, if someone asks about a movie, it wouldn't make sense to talk about the weather unless it connects to the movie. And the last one is manner. It's about being clear and orderly. This rule advises us to be clear and organized. We should avoid being unclear or confusing and try to express our thoughts in a logical way. And using simple words it helps each others to understand better. Okay, next one is about the examples of the maxims in action. So there is an example here. When we follow these rules, our conversations are clearer and more effective, and we can share ideas and express our thoughts without misunderstanding. But if someone breaks the rule, it can lead to confusion or even tricking someone. So we can see the example to understand better about the maxims. For example, person A says, I am out of petrol, kehabisan gas. And then the person B replies, there's a garage around the corner, ada pom bensin dekat di sini. And in this case, person B assumes the garage is open and can help person A. If the garage is closed, this response is not helpful. And the person A might feel frustrated. And this shows that how being relevant is important in communication. So when someone says something, then the replier should know the context and also giving the right answer, and the sentence should be not out of context. Should not be out of context. And there are also like other examples like breaking the rule. It's called flouting. I didn't put it in the slide, but there is if someone breaks the rule of the maxims, it's called flouting. If someone asks what is his latest book like about a book, and then someone replied it weighs a half kilo. So what a book is like and a half kilo is out of context. And this does not really answer the question. Instead, it suggests that the book might not be interesting because it's too heavy. And this can confuse the listener, but also makes them think about what the speaker really means. So it's not really related to between the question and the answer. And also there's another example of flouting, could be sarcasm, like sindiran. If someone says, "Oh, great, another meeting," when they do not want to go, they are not being truthful. So when someone is lying, it breaks the maxim rules. And the listener understands that the speaker is joking and is not happy about the meeting. So even if you lie when you say the sentence, but but the listener knows that you are lying, it can be said that it breaks the rules. And maybe that's the examples. For the conclusion, understanding presupposition and Grice maxims can help us communicate better. These ideas remind us to think about how assumptions and to express ourselves clearly. So the assumptions and also the principles, the maxims, rules are important, and we can use them to communicate better with each other. I think that's about it from me. Thank you so much for listening. I give this back to Hikmatin.
Okay, thank you, Isna, for your for your brief explanation. For the next material is about the analysis of context, which will be delivered by me. Okay, here I found from DGP 2011 Introductive to Discourse Analysis Theory and Method Routledge from his book The analysis of context is a fundamental aspect of critical discourse analysis of RCDA that focuses on understanding how various contextual factors influence the meaning and interpretation of discourse. So, the context encompasses a wide range of elements, including situational, cultural, historical, and institutional factors that shape how language is used and understood. Okay, so here there are the component of the context. For the first, immediate context. This refers to the specific situation in which communication occurs. It includes factors such as the participants involved, the setting, the purpose of the interaction, and the medium of communication. Or we can say, like the example, spoken, written, or digital. So the understanding the immediate context helps analysts grasp how language choice are influenced by the dynamics of the interaction. Okay, for the next, the cultural context. The cultural context involves the shared beliefs, values, and norms of a particular group or society. It shapes how language is used and interpreted. For instance, certain phrase or idea examines how cultural context influence, discourse, and can perpetuate or challenge social norms and power relations. For example, if I give you one idiom like in the pink or feeling blue, it's mean people who shared this idiom is feeling ill or feeling sad. Okay, for the next is historical context. Okay, historical context refers to the time period and events that influence the discourse. This includes understanding the socio-political climate, historical events, and change in societal attitudes that may affect how language is used. Analyzing historical context allows researchers to see how past events shape current discourse and power dynamics. And for the next slide, it's about institutional context. Institutions play a significant role in shaping discourse through established norms, practice, and power structures. For example, the language used in educational setting may reflect institutional values and priorities. CDA investigates how institutional constraints influence language use and contribute to the maintenance of social inequalities. For the next, the power relation. Context analysis in CDA also focuses on how power relations are constructed and maintained through discourse. Language can reinforce or challenge existing power dynamics, and understanding the context helps reveal this relationship. And the analysts look at who has the authority to speak, whose voices are marginalized, and how language reflects social hierarchies. And last, intertextuality. Context analysis considers how texts relate to one another and how previous discourses influence current ones. This concept of intertextuality highlights that no text exists in isolation. Rather, it is shaped by and shapes other texts. Understanding this connection can provide insight into how meanings are constructed and constituted over time. So, by analyzing context, CDA aims to uncover the underlying ideologies and power structures that influence language use, and this comprehensive approach allows researchers to critically examine how discourse shapes and reflects social realities, ultimately contributing to a deeper understanding of the interplay between language and society. Okay, maybe that's it from me. So for the next material, and this is the last submaterial, it's about institutional constraints, which will be delivered by Aisyah. The time is yours.
So, can you see my book? Okay. So, next, there is institutional constraint. So, it refers to structures, communication that organizations or institutions create to control communication and practices of themselves. So, this constraint affects how people use language and professional social settings. So, this constraint has influence to how people in the institution communicate or so this institution shapes how the people communicate. Companies and institutions decide what types of text their employees will do. So these texts are often pre-formatted and have technical functions. For example, a receptionist in a large hotel follows standardized forms for maybe reservation or checking in and out guests. So, next legal institution as example. The legal system relies on structured text to function properly. So it has to follow a structured format to get function to function. And also how institutional develop genre first institutions create formal genre. Genre here means has the meaning the specific way of using language in their field. maybe in the field of hospitality or in the field of medication, and so this genre becomes standard through custom in general experience. But these standards can change over time based on person, like new roles or new educational methods. And so it can change, but based on technological expansion. Okay. Maybe that's for me for institutional constraints. I will give it back to Mother.
Okay, thank you very much, Aisha, who has delivered the material. And all the material has been presented very clearly by the presenters. And I hope the explanation were easy to understand. And from me, I apologize for any mistake in our words or delivered in delivering the material. Sorry. And for the last, before we close, I will share you the conclusion. Okay. In this chapter, we learned that communication is more than just words. It is shaped by culture and the situation we are in. Discourse help us understand social realities, while the social context influence how we create and understand message. Key ideas like presupposition and wise maxims show how assumption and cooperation make communication clear, helping us have better conversation and recognize different viewpoints. Additionally, discourse analysis terms of context and meaning, improving our ability to communicate effectively in a diverse world. Okay, I as moderator will now take my leave and thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.